Sure. Yeah. Everyone ready? Everyone's good to go? All right. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for this very important announcement. I'm Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, and I'm pleased to be joined today by representatives from the U.S. Marshal Service, including U.S. Marshal Gary Blankenship and Chief Deputy Rich Hunter. We are proud to partner with the U.S. Marshal Service through the Gulf Coast Violent Offenders and Fugitives Task Force. This task force was instrumental in the capture of Harris County murder suspect William Joseph Greer. Members of the task force are here today, and I want to publicly thank them for their hard work. We're also joined by Criminal Investigations Bureau Major Tim Navarre and Homicide Captain Max Turner, as well as Chief Deputy Takika, whose team worked on this case. Mr. Greer has been wanted for more than a decade in connection with the 2006 murder of Tammy Marie Esquivel. He's in custody in Mexico and is expected soon. Mr. Greer was captured in cooperation with Mexican authorities. To the family of Tammy Esquivel, I want to express our sincere sympathy for her death and our gratitude for their perseverance as we sought to bring justice to her killer. To the law officers who never gave up on this case, I want to say how proud I am of your dogged pursuit of this case. This arrest sends a strong message that Harris County never forgets our victims and that we will pursue killers no matter where they hide. Now I'd like to introduce U.S. Marshal Service Chief Deputy Gary Blankenship to discuss this collaborative effort.
Thank you, Sheriff. I just want to say thank you very much to the news media, John Walsh over at America's Most Wanted and The Hunt, Michelle Sedona, who was with America's Most Wanted, The Hunt, and now she's with Crime Watch Daily. They have kept this story alive, as well as our local news media. Joel Eisenbaum over at Channel 2. Channel 13 was preparing a story to run in December to keep this story alive for 11 years. This is a brutal murder. The guy we have a confession on a video, and we didn't have a murder to match with it, and he escaped. And this guy has been the chameleon for 11 years. So I really want to thank the news media that helped us in keeping this alive, and the deputies. My deputies have been from one end of the United States to the other, tracking down leads. We've interviewed hundreds of people. We've tracked hundreds of leads. Finally, some very good information was developed that led us to Mexico. We had deputy U.S. Marshals on the ground in Mexico with the Mexican federal authorities that were able to execute this arrest without incident. So with that, I'd like to congratulate the Gulf Coast Violent Offenders and Fugitive Task Force. Deputy Josh Wright is here with us. He's the lead investigator. Deputy Cameron Welch and Deputy Leslie Rammon, who was a key part of this investigation for many, many years. But this is an 11-year investigation, and we hope it's a step forward and some closure for the Esquivel family. Thank you.
Thank you, Marshal. Next, we'll hear from U.S. Marshal Chief Deputy Hunter.
Good afternoon. My name is Rich Hunter, Hunter, the Chief Deputy United States Marshal for the Southern District of Texas. The U.S. Marshal Service would like to announce the arrest of William Joseph Greer, one of the U.S. Marshal's top 15 most wanted fugitives. Greer is wanted by the Harris County Sheriff's Department for the murder of Tammy Esquivel on December 19, 2006. Mr. Greer was located and apprehended in Mexico yesterday morning by U.S. Marshals and our Mexican law enforcement counterparts. The arrest concludes an 11-year manhunt for Greer and should highlight the years of dedicated service by the men and women of the U.S. Marshal Service and the Harris County Sheriff's Department that did not give up on this investigation. Greer was located in a very rural area of Mexico by the name of Municipio Nacahuaca. He was residing with a female companion and 2 children. Our investigation indicates that he had been there for some time and had probably fled there soon after the murder in 2006. The extradition process to return Greer to the U.S. is underway, and we anticipate his return to be imminent. Immediately upon setting foot on U.S. soil, Greer will be met by U.S. Marshals and served with the warrant for murder. Upon his service, he will be transported to the Harris County Homicide Division and turned over to investigators from that office. As we approach the 11th anniversary of Tammy's murder, we hope that this arrest brings Tammy's loved ones some sense of closure. They've been denied justice for 11 years, and this arrest will finally start the proceedings to close this case out for good. Thank you for all your help in this. You guys have been instrumental in getting Mr. Greer's photo out there, the story out there, things like that. We could not have done it without the cooperation of our media counterparts. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. And next, we'll hear from Harris County Sheriff's Homicide Captain Max Turner.
I want to just give just a very brief overview of the case. On December 19, 2006, William Greer was involved in a disturbance at his residence with his girlfriend, Tammy Esquivel. Information later obtained from Greer's sons indicated that he had dragged Tammy Esquivel into the master bedroom, and then the sons did hear a gunshot. On December 22nd, Greer was arrested for public intoxication by a Liberty County SO. Greer stated to the deputy that had arrested him that he had accidentally shot Tammy in the chest and watched her die. Liberty County contacted the Harris County Sheriff's Office, but since there was nobody discovered at Greer's residence, he was released from custody once he finished out his charge there in the other county. On December 23rd, he borrowed a vehicle. This is 2006. He borrowed a vehicle and fled the state. Greer's residence was searched, and blood was found in the bedroom and other parts of the residence, which indicated that something had happened. And Tammy Esquivel's body has still not been recovered to this date. That's all.
And now a few words in Spanish. Estamos aquí para anunciar que se arrestó a un individuo que se llama William Joseph Greer por un incidente que pasó hace cerca de 11 años. Entonces nosotros estamos muy felices de poder anunciar esto. Trabajamos con las autoridades en México para localizar el fugitivo. Estaba en la lista de los 15 más buscados en todo el país, el U.S. Marshals Service, y esto fue una colaboración con el Gulf Coast Violent Offenders Task Force. Tenemos aquí el U.S. Marshal Blankenship, el segundo que sigue, el Hunter también, para hablar que lo pudimos localizar, ya está en tránsito y pronto va a estar en nuestra custodia, ya está en la custodia de las autoridades en México, pronto cambiará la custodia a nosotros y vamos a poder seguir con los procedimientos para tratar de traer alivio para la familia de Tammy Marie Esquivel, que fue brutalmente asesinada en diciembre de 2006. Entonces ya pronto va a llegar el aniversario de su muerte Entonces queremos dar las gracias por toda la colaboración que ven aquí, todas las agencias que trabajaron juntos y también a las autoridades en México. Y también para anunciar que en el condado de Harris nunca nos olvidamos de las víctimas. Estos casos nunca se cierran hasta que se pueden cerrar con el caso con información que pueda resultar. Again, just a reminder, as was mentioned, we're coming up on the 11th anniversary of this brutal murder. And again, just to send the message that law enforcement will continue to work collaboratively until we could bring closure to every case possible. And someone out there always has information that could lead to an arrest, so we always encourage you to come forward and give us that piece of information that could be crucial to clearing a case, because there's many out there that remain unsolved, many fugitives still on the run. But we're going to hunt them down, and you see the partnership here today with the task force that's been in place now for a long time, the leadership of the U.S. Marshal Service, the Harris County Sheriff's Office, and all the hard work, our homicide division as well throughout the years. We don't give up. We're not going to give up. It's just good old-fashioned police work, sticking to it, and the tenacity of law enforcement. So very proud of American law enforcement and working with our counterparts in Mexico as well. So kudos to them as well. Any questions?
Alguacil, ¿desde hace cuánto tiempo se cree estuvo este fugitivo en México?
Do we know how long Greer has been in Mexico approximately, or when he may have arrived over there?
We don't have a specific date. We can't tell you by his fluency of Spanish that he's probably been there quite a while. He was embedded pretty tightly in this little community, and his Spanish is flawless. So we're under the impression, we're still trying to backtrack, but we're under the impression that he fled there soon after the murder, within a year or two, because we had some leads here in the U.S. up to I think about 2008, and then after that it kind of went cold. And so we would theorize right now since probably 2008.
We received a tip.
No tenemos la fecha exactamente, pero parece que después del 2006, cuando pasó el asesinato, que tal vez se quedó aquí en los Estados Unidos, tal vez por 1 o 2 años más o menos, y habla muy bien el español, tiene raíces ya muy fuertes en México también, entonces pensamos que el 2008 hasta ahora ha estado allí y ha podido hacer más perfecto su español.
Sorry, we received a tip that he was turned in by his wife in Mexico, because he mentioned that he was found with a woman and 2 children. And we had an anonymous source tell us that they were his wife and his 2 children. So can you confirm that?
We're not going to confirm that. A number of leads were followed to get to this point. And so at this point, I think that's all we could really say, is that a number of leads were developed throughout the years, again, through law enforcement and other things as we were trying to track them through the U.S., and it's just taken us to this point. But it's just been a collaborative effort, a number of different sources and things that have come together to make this happen, but we can't confirm that. So.
What can you tell us about the arrest? Did he go willingly? Did he cooperate? Do you know where it happened?
I do. So it was, again, in Municipal Oaxaca. You have to look it up on the map. It's a really rural area.
I believe it's close to Villahermosa. Villahermosa?
I'm not sure. That's what I was going to ask you in Spanish. If you can,
That's the biggest city next to it is Villahermosa.
Villahermosa.
Está cerca de Villahermosa, es un municipio, un pueblito muy pequeño.
Is it in the state of Tabasco?
Sí.
Yeah, in the state of Tabasco in Mexico.
So the capture. So we had developed information that he was possibly in this area, and so we had coordinated with our Mexican counterparts, the PGRs, the federal police, and they had actually gone down the day before to put eyes on him, but they didn't want to make a move until the U.S. Marshals got there and actually gave him a thumbs up and identified him. Once the U.S. Marshals were in place, we did identify him. We waited for him to leave his house to go pick up his kids at school, and that's when we approached him. And we didn't really give him a chance to cooperate, but he didn't fight us. And go ahead.
So was it outside his house? Like,
It was.
is he?
Yes,
Okay.
it was. So we watched him leave the house on a scooter, and we approached him once he stopped on the scooter and took him into custody. We immediately removed him from that area and took him to Mexico City for the night, which is traditional in Mexico. Once you make an arrest, we don't typically book him into a local jail there because it's a little too dangerous. So we usually take him to Mexico City to a federal holding facility up there and start the extradition proceedings.
Now, did it seem like he had been running from the law? Like, was he making attempts to conceal his identity, or did he seem like he was living pretty comfortably?
It seemed like he was living pretty comfortably, like he had been embedded there for a while, was comfortable in his surroundings. You can see by the photos of his capture photo there. He's aged a bit, but I mean, these are his younger days. I think he's aged normally. So as soon as our investigators laid eyes on him, they knew it was him. And then we verified that when we took one of his shoes off and he was missing his toe.
Got it. So he was using his original name, no disguises?
No, he was not. He was under a false name.
Okay.
And
Are you able to tell us that name?
No, not right now. But he is trying to claim that he has some type of citizenship in Mexico under a fake name, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But
Was the fake name a Latin name?
we won't go into that.
Just keep in mind as well, is that this is still some active leads that we still need to kind of pursue. We've never located an actual body. And so there's still some additional leads we'd like to see based on now that we've located him, if we could backtrack some things, kind of pinpoint whereabouts, tighten up that timeline, and then see if we could develop any additional leads that could potentially lead us to those additional points as far as locating the body potentially.
Yeah, this all just happened yesterday morning. So we're here basically to talk about the apprehension and getting him back to the United States. And then we still have an entire criminal investigation to conduct and judicial proceedings and things like that. So we're really in the infancy of this. It's just, unfortunately, it's taken us 11 years to get to this point.
Got it. Can you tell us whether or not it came at least from a tip from somebody, or was it investigative work that led to it?
It was a little combination of both. Once we got into the area, we did our traditional talking to some people and things like that, and it kind of snowballed from there. So I'd say it was a combination of investigative work and some local resources.
What's the reward awarded to somebody? There wasn't a reward for these guys?
There was a reward. I don't have right now if we're going to be paying any reward out or not. I just don't have that information.
Was his appearance the key factor in identifying him by the U.S. Marshals?
He stuck out a little bit. I believe his nickname down there was El Gringo. And again, he was in this kind of rural area, and I don't want to call the people indigenous, but our information was that the woman he was with barely spoke Spanish. She spoke some type of other dialect from indigenous people down there. So he stuck out, and you've been doing this long enough, been doing fugitive work long enough. You lay eyes on a guy you've been chasing 11 years, and you're going to know right away it was him. And just the icing on the cake was, he tried to deny it, and we're like, well, take your shoe off. So took his shoe off, and there you go.
Will the victim's family been commenting?
You know what? I'll defer to them. I think we're still trying to find them. Some of the information we have for them is dated, but we sure would like to get to them and share the news. But I believe we have people out currently looking for them.
Un caso aparte de lo que queríamos.
Déjanos terminar de esto primero. Any other questions about this particular case?
On the homicide, Captain, tell us where in the county this took place. The murder.
I actually did not get the addresses and stuff. Do you have?
Yeah, I don't have the exact address, but it's up in the Spring area, just south of the Tomball, off of Kirkendall. It's a subdivision called Londonderry. I know that because I pass it going to work and coming to work every day. And William Greer is on my mind every morning, going to work and coming home. So I'm glad that he's off my mind, as I kind of had a little chuckle this morning coming into work as I passed Londonderry and didn't have to think about him anymore. So.
Could you or somebody else speak to that, kind of what it's been like for 11 years, how often this is something that came to your mind, and kind of just what that's been like, and what it's like now that there's been an arrest?
Yeah, so, in the fugitive game, every now and then you'll get a case like this where, somebody is decent at hiding. And William Greer is one of those guys. He cut off all ties with his family. Not many people can do that. Usually they trip up and they call a loved one. Even after years, they want to develop some type of communication pattern with their loved ones. William Greer did not. So these guys that are able to cut ties and just go somewhere and live a different life, they're tough to find. These types of cases do come across every now and then. And I'll tell you, the names of Marshal Service investigators that have worked this case, Harris County investigators that have worked this case, is very long. A lot of people have been involved in trying to find William Greer over the years. And so the satisfaction is immeasurable. And we get to share it with a lot of people. I mean, some people are retired, some people have gone on to other professions and things like that. And, I can only imagine when they hear that William Greer was captured, it brings them a great amount of satisfaction. And that's just the name of the game. Anytime you find somebody that you're looking for, that's what it's about. You get the satisfaction of actually putting handcuffs on them after looking for them for so long. So, you know, it's a tremendous feeling. And then, you know, you throw in your hopes for the family, the Escobar family. You know, it's very satisfying work.
What does it do for officers that are working on cases that are 10, 15 years old?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that.
What does it do for the officers that are working on cases now that are 10 years, 15 years old?
Oh, it inspires them. You know, it gives them hope. You know, you got guys out there that are chasing people 5, 6 years, and, you know, they may slack off a little bit and everything like that. They hear about a capture like this. It's been 11 years, and I tell you what, they'll be digging through their case files tomorrow trying to come up with some new leads because it gives you hope. I mean, come on, let's be honest. You know, you can't lose a little hope chasing these guys. The leads are cold. Nobody's talking to you. You just have no new information. And then all of a sudden something like this happens and kind of reinvigorates everybody. So it's a good thing.
Do you know if he had a third degree of fluency before, at the time of the crime?
No,
Or
I don't
is that
believe.
something that he apparently
He picked up while he was in Mexico. William Greer's is a good old country boy. I don't think he spoke a lick of Spanish before he set foot in Mexico. So.
Algo así para terminar, ¿nos puede resumir eso un poquito? ¿Cómo, qué tanto este tipo estaba metido en esta comunidad allá en México y cómo fue que lo capturaron, cómo lo identificaron?
Sí, pues estuvo muy metido ya en esa zona de México, parece que fue el área de Tabasco. Entonces hablaba perfecto español y era muy conocido ahí en el pueblo, era un pueblo pequeño, pero pensamos que es alrededor del 2008 que ya estaba allá, entonces ya está impuesto a las normas y las costumbres de ahí, porque anteriormente nuestra información es que no sabía nada de español, era una persona aquí de campo solamente y pues aprendió para tratar de navegar el sistema allá en México.
Y el oficial decía que él salía de su casa a recoger a sus hijos
Sí.
y que lo arrestaron.
Lo arrestaron cuando fue después de la casa, iba a la escuela de sus hijos, ahí es donde lo arrestaron. But yeah, these cases do stick with you. You know, worked them myself, and you always remember some more than others just because certain things really pop. But, you know, in this case, you know, supposedly, allegedly it happened inside the home with children there that grew up without their mom, you know, all these years. And so we're glad to be able to bring some semblance of closure. Obviously, she'll never come back. I mean, you never fully recover from something like this as a family, but to at least, you know, try to bring that closure means a lot to law enforcement. That's why we suit up every day, and you see the amazing police work by all those here and those that can't be with us here today. Look, it's tough enough fighting sometimes in your own jurisdiction, let alone crossing borders and all kinds of stuff. So, again, it just speaks to the tenacity, the diligence, the talents of law enforcement. And we want to give hope to families as well that have lost a loved one. Is look, we don't give up, and we hope they don't give up, and help us get information, tips, leads, witnesses that we didn't interview at some point, bring them forward so we could try to make progress in other cases as well.
The victim was the mother of his 2 children that turned him in?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm talking here where it happened.
Is there anything you can tell us in terms of what he told you? Or I assume you're hoping to find out where that body is and all of that info. Right?
Correct, yeah, again.
Does any of that come out?
No, to our knowledge, it's not. I mean, our main focus up to now has been just the arrest and getting them back, working through the extradition process. The other investigative parts will still continue, and then we'll see where we're at that point. You know, obviously, it's been 11 years, so a lot's gone through his mind, I'm sure.
Oficial, did the body ever was found?
No, the body was never found. Nunca encontraron el cuerpo.
One of the main things that the investigator who's working this case said to me was the thing that stuck out in his mind through this whole investigation was one of the daughters was interviewed and how she didn't have a grave to go visit. The fact that her mother was never, and the investigator said that always stuck in my mind, that this little girl never had a grave. And he goes, I wanted to do everything I could to bring some closure, and maybe we can recover that body so this little girl has a grave to go visit for her mother. So that's how heart-wrenching it is. And the chief talks about how rewarding it is when you capture somebody like that. But that's, you know, it hits home with everybody. So.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Question, do you know where? I just realized, where would he be walking? Would that be like a That'd be here? Oh, okay, like in this jail? Just a-
¿Es este?
¿Quieres salir en el para que esté marcadito?
Sí, sí, sí.